So it's important for everyone to feel their own frequency, right? Everyone has their own energetic signature. Outside of any modality, outside of any thing that they've been taught or told, there's something very unique about every single being in this room. And it's not something that someone can teach you. It's not something that someone can give to you. It's something that you yourself have to discover and allow to blossom. So that's why I always take that moment so you all can feel that, because that's where the magic happens. Because everything I talk about is not going to make sense on the ways that I want to if you're not connected to yourself. If you're really not, you got to be able to feel deeper than the identities, the programs, and all the stuff, right? What are you without all of those things? Who are you? Why are you? How are you? So that's why Cosmic Frequencies here is to get into all of that. So yeah, Cosmic Frequency, that's my Instagram name, but I came up with that because I realized that, my message is different than I think most people hear. It's not new age, it's not old age, it just is, right? It's what it needs to be for when it needs to be. And it's a frequency that you have to feel into. Again, you can't ask me to teach you anything. You have to be able to feel this within yourself, right? In the cosmos, because this planet is not my home, that is for sure. Expanding our perceptions. The key to truly comprehending what I'm sharing is an expanded and open mind. So there are many New Age teachings. There are many New Age concepts. And what I'm bringing is designed to create something beyond the regurgitation of information, right? If humans are to advance on the journey as a collective, we must be able to widen our gaze on how reality functions, not from a limited self-defining box that only works from within its own frame of reference. So let's talk about science for a second. Most of us are taught that gravity is a force, right? We're taught that the sun is hot. It's not. We're taught that the sun is yellow. It's white. So we're taught all these things that create a vision, that give us a perception. The moon landing is a perception. Is it real? Was it true? Did anyone actually look into it? Or did you just believe it because that's what someone said, right? So expanding your perception is allowing your thoughts and your beliefs to be challenged. Whether you're religious or spiritual or Hindu, it doesn't matter. Whether you're tall, skinny, black, white, it doesn't matter. It's your duty as a soul to allow your thoughts to be challenged. If you want the truth, then you need to ask questions. You need to be able to look at different layers of information and have critical thinking skills. Most humans today are so used to people telling them how to be. So they sit by themselves and they don't know what to do with themselves because no one's telling them how to be. So I got to this point because I sat with myself. I would go out in the woods at 1 o'clock in the morning, dressed in all black. It was pitch dark out and just sit. Because I wanted to face the darkness within and without, right? I would sit in dark rooms just because I wanted to get familiar with the darkness. What's so scary about the dark? Nothing. It's actually pure potential. Light is it actually enhances what's in the dark. It gives us something to see that's already and has always been there. So we have to learn how to think in different ways. Science and the understanding of reality can only go as far as the consciousness that is observing and trying to understand it. That is literally so important. So what is key here is the upliftment of the consciousness of the soul in human perception. It doesn't matter what you learn at this expo. It doesn't. Because the only way it's going to make a difference is if you decide to have it make a difference. Besides that, everything that I'm saying and that you're learning is just more information, just more data. It's just more data. So you have to choose, apart from anything you learned this weekend, to start being your own spiritual master, your own ascended master, your own guide. It's like time to step up to the plate and stop waiting for cool, just information. So this is how we shift and expand our consciousness as a people. So you're only going to, let's think of it like this. There's a quote I like to say, see if I can remember it. The seed is the fruit, and the fruit is the seed. So just think about that for a second. The seed is in the fruit, and the fruit is in the seed. If within myself I have negative thoughts, I think negatively about myself, and then I go out into the world and try to start a business, the people in my business are going to be what? Right. So you set the foundation. So the seed is in the fruit is in the seed. You have to focus on what it is that you think is important in your life, because nothing that you do is going to get anywhere if you have not shifted your way of being. You hear what I'm saying? So that's why I say here, science does not know what gravity is. It doesn't. That's why they say it's a force, but yet we're still driving, cars. Oh my God, don't even get me started, right? Because the scientists who are the authorities have a limited perception because they have not allowed their minds to expand. And it's intentional because of the powerful beings in this room. If this kind of information was mainstream, there'd be no work for the scientists to keep humans in a limited perception of reality. You hear what I'm saying? So you're not given the truth. Just because a scientist says it or someone who studied it for 20 years doesn't mean anything. 98% of what I'm sharing today came from me sitting and doing nothing but observing. This is not from a book. This is direct. It's a direct experience with what someone calls source. That's why it feels so different, because it's not regurgitation. It's original. If there's someone who's never made a cake before, they've never made a cake, they don't even know cake exists, right? And I give them the best, most finest ingredients, the best flour. Let's say this flour came from like the 24th dimension where it doesn't really exist, but let's just pretend. And they have the best and finest flour, the best butter, the best oil. Here, make a cake. Can they make the cake? No. They don't know. There's no instructions. They haven't realized within themselves, right? They haven't expanded their awareness to include the data that they would need in order to make a cake. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what people tell you or give to you, because you have to expand your consciousness in order to interpret the stuff we're going to talk about today and other things, right? So the person who's making the cake can only make that cake really well with those beautiful ingredients if they have the data within themselves and the parameters to actually understand what the heck a cake even is. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so the theory of gravity. Okay, so I'm going back to a point I made earlier. The theory of gravity only works here on Earth. Only on Earth do we say gravity is a force. Okay? But any other interstellar race understands that gravity is actually flow or flux in the ether. Your thoughts are gravitic. And I'll explain that in a little bit. So I say here, a good example of this is gravity. The theory of gravity only works here on Earth. It is not applied to the wider lens of reality or different interstellar cultures. This is why mainstream science, which is a heavily controlled field, even in the spiritual communities, okay, so cannot figure out how ET crafts implement anti-gravity. The same can be said about time, dimensions, or frequencies. So mainstream spirituality is like the Target of spirituality. No, I mean, I shop at Target, but that sounds awful. But from my experience, when you walk into Target, it looks so great. Everything's shiny, everything's nice. But it's like none of this stuff is really even healthy. There's no real food in there. There's no real materials in there. But I'm there like 10 times a week. But that's not the point. The point is I understand what it is. I just know how to integrate it into my life. And so I see that mainstream spirituality is the same way. It makes you feel really good. It makes you seem like you're doing something. But again, you have to ask yourself those deeper questions. What am I without that stuff? Who am I and how am I and why am I, right? And if we want to expand our perception, we have to be able to let go of outdated information, all right? And I'm talking about information that we're getting in our spiritual circles, and just see what is there when you allow those thoughts to be challenged. If you really want to understand time and all this stuff I'm sharing today, then you're going to be challenged to let go of what you've been taught about all of this. There are many, many levels of being, and to experience each one, we must integrate the previous. Today, I'm here to share those other levels, but it's up to you to integrate them and become a mature soul. So, before the baby runs, it has to what? Before it crawls, it has to what? What? You guys don't know it, babies? No, just kidding. Has to crawl. Has to come. Sometimes just kind of does nothing. Just flops around. My point is that there's steps and there's levels to the experience of being a human, right? And to let those levels be shattered, but you also have to integrate the walking stage before you get to the running stage, and before you get to the levitation stage, you have to integrate a whole bunch of different things, right? But there's ways in which you ascend on your own personal journey. Ascension is not a mass thing. That's another spiritual program. All of humanity is not going to ascend up to some magical land. It's about your own individual ascension process. Have you integrated stuff? There's some people living in a 5D, 6D, 8D consciousness in this room. There's some people in this room living in a 3D consciousness, because ascension is an inside job. Now, when a group of people come together with similar frequencies and thought patterns, then it's safer to say that humanity is ascending or transcending outdated information. So what is ether physics? Keeping it to 3 short bullet points: the study of the medium which all things arise from and return to. People talk about God, they talk about source, they talk about a creator. I personally don't believe in creationism, because creation denotes a start and a finish, right? Here or there. I know that things are eternal. There is no time, there is no start, there is no finish. And so in order for there to be a creator, there had to be, well, here was the creator, and then there was nothing else, right? But that's not how reality functions. That's another story we're told to limit our perception on time. We're taught that time is something that we see when we look at a clock. It's not. That's for another topic, though. Ether physics is the newest level of consciousness physics on planet Earth. This is something that is not taught in your regular school, your regular spiritual community, because most people, again, are only regurgitating information. They're not sitting and actually experiencing what it feels like to be a soul, to be a wave in the field. So ether physics is literally the study of the self. And the ether itself is the medium in which all things have form and being. All things arise from and return to the ether, the source, the original source. Ether physics is not a written work or centralized modality. It is the awareness of oneself turned into the contemplation and observation of its own experience. So you don't always have to sit and do nothing, but sometimes you can ride a bike and just let your mind, be free. Sometimes you can garden. Some of you may like to paint or sing, but find that space within you where you are limitless, right? We all have it. We all have it. And I'm not going to let anyone off the hook. Well, I can't. No, stop. Because human beings are limitless beings. Truly. Your body does not define what you can or cannot do, because your body is a projection of your consciousness. That's why whenever you go to sleep at night and you dream, you're dreaming of, eating ice cream. Weird. You're doing it with a body. Wait, where'd that body come from? Right? You generate your body no matter what dimension you're in. So you're doing the same thing here now. So the difference in your experience is your perception and what you're told is possible and not possible, right? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Just put your mind to it. It's literally that simple. Because the ether, that's what it does. It doesn't hear yes or no. It only takes the information that is itself, and it starts to form based on that information. That's me doing a little key ball. And that practice in and of itself, Qigong, Tai Chi, all those things are tremendous ether resonators. This necklace that I'm wearing came from the ether, quite literally. It was I saw this in a meditation sitting by the water in my backyard, and I had a friend, make it for me. So it expands my fields whenever I'm giving talks and all this thing. So yeah, it's like advanced technology. You guys thought advanced technology would be like starships flying around. It's this. I'm serious though. When you learn how to really manipulate reality, you learn that the most advanced technologies are the most simple. They're not iPhones. iPhones are barbaric. Yeah, they're actually embarrassing to an advanced consciousness. The iPhone is like a joke. I am working on a technology where there's a crystal and you can think to it. You have an image in your mind, and you project that image into the crystal, and it would unlock your phone because it holds the frequency resonance of that thought pattern, because everything's the ether and everything's connected. So as I go, you go, we go. I define the ether as the medium or principle of all things, or pure potential, timeless, spaceless, pure potential. So just pause for a second again, and you can close your eyes again. It doesn't matter, but just let your mind wander into pure potential. What would that feel like? What is that to you? And try not to define it with your words, but try to feel it just with your being, with your essence. What is pure potential? And when you can feel into that, even for 3 seconds, 2 minutes, you start to create a toroidal spin in your field. And then from that state of being, you actually can enter into a much deeper meditation, what some would call a trance. And it is from that state of being where you can do things like levitation, teleport, etc. Because you're accessing the ether. And your mind is the biggest ether resonator there is, because what you can imagine, Green Lantern, power of will, you can be. Be wise in your creations, but understand if you get to the point where you can fly, okay, good. I'm saying it's a possibility, but the only reason that humans experience what they do now is because we all agree. We all agree that we can't levitate. We all agree that we can't fly. We all agree that we're not telepathic unless you're some ascended spiritual person. It's just mental agreements. If I agree to the fact that I can astral project, and you do, and you do, and you do, then it becomes reality. You see? So everything we're seeing play out in the world is because of mass agreements, which are based on perceptions. So I'm giving you different perceptions, so we can create different agreements, so we can have a different experience. It's all very simple, right? So you can, okay, where was I? Okay, so yeah, pure potential. The ether operates as a super high resonating fluid. It has similar qualities of hydrodynamics. The principles of reality can be influenced in many ways. So let's go back to the first part. Kind of the essence of the ether would be akin to the ocean. That's the easiest way I can describe it. It's not a thing in and of itself. It's a field of pure potential, but it behaves like water. So this is not just materialization, although it's a part of materialization. It's giving you the keys to unlock your godliness, literally, in different ways that's not so like ambiguous. I'm telling you, when you focus, the second you focus, you might as well imagine seeing a rock and you drop it in a pond and it creates ripples, right? Well, as you focus that energy, those ripples go out into the ether, and then someone else is thinking the same thing, and those waves hit the waves that you created, and it creates something called a standing wave, right? Or a node or a nexus point. The more that you focus, the stronger that wave gets, until it becomes a materialization and you say, oh, I manifested something. Yes, good job. But that's how it works, right? And so gravity is just that. Like people say, well, the planet is so big, or it has so much gravity mass because it's so big. No, it's that the source or the ether is focusing so strongly, and there's so much energy there that it generates a planet. So it's flipped. Again, science says that gravity is a force. No, gravity creates the planet. Do you guys understand that? Can you wrap your heads around that? Can you flip that in your minds? It's so freeing. And you all are doing this every single day. You're creating gravity wells in the ether. And now you can do it a little bit more responsibly. Thought, feeling, the heart energy, frequency and sound are great ways to influence the ether. Everything influences the ether, but these are some of the main ways. Physical movements, Tai Chi, Qigong. If we can get our minds out of judging ourselves. Whenever a kid's throwing a temper tantrum, the way that their body moves, there's a reason for that. That's making a wave in the ether that you pick up on. You say, oh, they're angry. Not just because you see them, but you're feeling the pulses and the vibrations that are created by those movements of the body. So whenever people do things like this, or they hold different mudras, right, or they wear certain jewelry, it's because it's influencing the medium. This is influencing the medium, the way that it spirals, the crystal in the middle. It's all intentional. This is why I say it's advanced technology. So there's no, well, it just makes me feel good. Well, yeah, but why? Do you understand why? Because when you wear something like this, you're creating that ripple that has a feeling that you interpret as good. And that's why when you see 5G towers, what are they doing? Right? So they're sending out a pulse wave in the ether that you interpret as not good. But guess what? You don't need, apologize if there's any EMF blockers at the expo, but I'm saying you don't need it. You are it. You can get your consciousness to the point where you're not heavily affected because you understand that you transcend the dimension in which that 5G energy exists in. It doesn't mean you get in a spaceship and blast off. It means you shift your thoughts and you create harmony within your fields. Physical movements, everything impacts and creates movements within the ether, thus giving us the illusion of physicality. So let's talk about that, the illusion of physicality. Things seem physical, like if I were to touch this, it seems physical because the etheric pulse rhythms, the gravity waves that are making up this podium in my hand are different. So it creates a repulsion, or when you take two magnets, north and north, and you put them together, there's that repulsion. That's what's happening. So this gets into wait, you're saying that if I learn how to manage or modulate my frequency, I can walk through walls. Yes, because there is no wall. Physicality is, again, a perception of reality. I want to see everyone jump up and walk through the wall right now. One day, yes. But really, when you really understand what I'm saying, that wall is set at a certain frequency, a certain base pulse rhythm. The harmonics that make up that wall are different than the harmonics that make up you. So if you shift your base pulse rhythm, there is no wall, there is no spoon. Physicality is just a perception agreement. We all agree that we're all physical beings, but you're not. That's what I'm saying. Your body's, like they say, well, the soul, my higher self, you are your higher self. Right now, I'm looking at everyone's higher self. There's no higher self to be channeled. You are it, here, now. It's only allowing your perception to break through first maybe the mental walls and then the physical ones. You see how it's all connected, right? To say the ether is a thing is not fully accurate, as it is not a thing, but the cause and the essence of things. So the more I try to define the ether, the more it escapes me, the more that I don't, it's hard to put it into a box. And that's kind of the point of the ether, is that it's pure potential. There's no box for it, but I'm doing the best I can to give you something to, perceive. So I hear a lot of talk about New Earth, Higher Earth, Aurora, Ascension Earth, timelines, all these dimensions, 5D, 24th D, 7D. And for me, that's just a byproduct of the human biology. What do I mean by that? Okay, so if you all think of the human brain, it's what? Split down the middle, right? So if I have rose-colored glasses on, what am I going to see? Roses. Rose red, right? So if if humans' brains are split down the middle, what are they going to do to reality? Yeah, dissect it. right? This is over here, masculine, feminine, goddess, God, up, down, high, low, 4D, 5D, 3D. Perception again. Lack of knowledge and understanding yourself, right? There's extraterrestrials who they don't have that split down the middle, and they don't see the difference between a high and a low, a hot and a cold. It's a gradient of reality, right? Now there's exercises that I do that I can teach to you all that can help. Now I have never done a brain scan, but I'm very, very curious to see if things haven't shifted. But I practice humming, and as I was humming, focusing on the center of my brain, but then focusing on little lightning strikes going back and forth, sending energy back, because I wanted to be complete. I didn't want to interpret reality as dualistic anymore. And so I practiced this for a long time. It's something I still do to this day, is working with my biology and knowing that I can change it at any given time. And so this is why it's very easy for me not to see things as good or bad, but see them as a gradient. See them as a gradient. So if you think of, like, if you have water and you're running water in your house and it's cold, right? And it starts getting warmer and warmer and warmer. Tell me, where's the line drawn where it becomes warm to hot? There isn't. It's just kind of it's a gradient again, right? So we have to learn to not interpret reality through the lens of dualistic thinking. If we're talking about becoming an interstellar civilization, most ETs out there are not seeing things the same way we are. Their biology is different, but that's because their minds are different. A lot of people think that your body is manipulated by external beings, or it's manipulated by the food and all that. Yes, to some extent, but also there's science that says you regenerate your body every 7 years. I don't think so. I think people hold the same concepts of themselves that generate the body, right? You see what I'm saying? Perception. Whenever I was young, I always wanted like one of these like little soul patches. And this is before I knew any of this stuff. So I just focused, and it's the first facial hair that came in was this little soul patch. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. But I'm sure that was a byproduct of telling myself as the ether, as source, as a soul, that I'm going to grow a little soul patch. And it happened, right? This is how powerful we are. So planes of reality. The earth plane at its density now is not permanent. All that is permanent is the vibration and frequency or the decisions and thought patterns that we're all agreeing to. That's what makes the matrix is your thoughts. You are creating the matrix because you focus on the same things over and over and over and over and over. And so you are creating this matrix. That's how powerful you are. There's no evil demon or whatever. No. I take full responsibility for my life, for my creation, and my mind and my body. And I focus on what I want to see experienced in my life. I mean this quite literally, to the point where my family thinks I'm so stubborn because it's always what I want to do, but it's always really cool, right? But what I'm saying, honor your family, love do that thing, but also know that you have this power to manipulate reality in this way. Earth is not a prison planet. I don't buy that anymore. One point I did, but I don't. I think that's another spiritual narrative to do what? Create a prison planet. Yeah, there you go. See, it's real simple once you figure it out. So this means that Earth is a concept or an idea that is generated by the souls who inhabit it. Everyone says, well, we need to change society. We need to do all these protests. No, you don't. That's not doing anything. That's not doing anything. What needs to change is you. Because again, the seed is in the fruit and the fruit is in the seed, right? So as I go, we go, right? So as you make the shift, I make the shift, then we all make the shift, because society is generated by the people in it. Are you seeing the connections here? Okay. Souls may occupy the same space, but have a tremendous difference in vibration and tone. So I won't spend too much time on this one because I think you all already get it. I'm breaking the thought pattern of a 5D ascension. I don't subscribe to it. Where's the 5D at? Someone point to it. I haven't seen it. Someone point to the 12th dimension. It's no different than saying, someone draw a line in the sand between California and Oregon. Exactly where California starts and Oregon begins. It's a joke. It's not. It's an idea. It's an idea that we hold. Do you guys see how much of our reality is based on ideas and mental agreements that construct the society that we live in, that aren't actually there to begin with, but we believe it, so then it is so? It's really freeing. It's very, very powerful when you really feel into this. So two people, there's plenty of beings who, again, are on a very high frequency on this planet who are not from this planet, quite literally, but they look like you, so you think they are like you, but they're not, right? And there's beings on another planet who might act more human and act more, low vibration. So it has nothing to do with your physicality, because your physicality is only a projection of your soul, right? So we got to get out of this, well, I'm on Earth, so I need to ascend somewhere. It's more of, I'm on Earth, what do I want to do while I'm here? How do I want to experience reality, right? What changes do I want to make to influence the world at large? So yeah, you may be in the same space as someone, and they just may be at a different frequency, and you may or may not, you may or you may not ever know. It just depends. Your physical location does not determine your expansion or your frequency. Just because you are on Earth does not mean you cannot be an advanced being. So please stop thinking that, oh shit, I incarnated on Earth, I'm screwed, oh no, it's a prison planet, oh my God, I'm done. Where's my star family at? Someone save me, I want to leave. Like, stop, really. Like, let it all go. That's just another story. Oh, I'm alone, I'm the only starseed here. Where's everyone at? It's like, I've been there. That's why I joke, because I know what it's like. Like, I'm the only one doing this. It's like, no, you're not. Just in this area, maybe. But Earth realm does not limit you. That's the name of the game. You're unlimited. You know who created the limited perception of Earth? Who created it? We did, right? Media, and we did. Look, we're the source. Let's just get that straight. There's no searching anymore. There's just realization of the self, right? We are the source, incarnate in different experiences. So we create this simulation, but not video game simulation, but experience, holographic experience, where things seem so dense and tough. But when you wake up, truly wake up, you stop blaming people. You see the system for what it is. I'm glad for the government, because it showed me a lower version of myself that I was unconscious of, right? So you can wake up to these things and you transcend them and you don't live in fear anymore. You have to integrate the experience. Earth does not limit you. Please, let's stop making those excuses. Earth does not limit us. I have no idea how we're doing on time, but what is time? Okay, anyways, I got to keep going. Okay, so, speaking of time. See that? I just did that. I just did that. See? Time and non-localization. So the 1920s, or any date for that matter, is not a linear moment. We're going to get into time. Switching gears to time now, okay? Time is not what you think. Whoa. Time is what you think, but it's not what you've been taught to think about it, right? They are a vibratory resonance or a state of awareness held by certain groups of souls, or a point of awareness, okay? So let's think of it like this. I was watching a movie one time, and in this movie, these ETs came to Earth, and they're still like driving horse and buggies, and it clicked for me. I was like, wait a second, this is happening simultaneously. So the 1920s, as we say, the 1920s, is only a vibration in the ether. It's not a physical place. I grew up in PA, and there's a lot of Amish, and so they had horse and buggy. And so to them, from their perception, it was whatever year it was where they did that, right? So I want you to start thinking of time as your thoughts, all right? I'll get to that in a second. There is no distance. There is no matter. All there is the ether at different rates of vibration. All right? So time travel is not about going back to a specific date in time. It's about entering a different resonance zone within the ether using a frequency map, which you can do with your thoughts. Your thoughts are what give you the experience of time. You are a nobody. Everyone in this room is a nobody. Quite literally, you are not a body. It is the experience of being a someone that gives you the sensation of time. All right, so let's break this down. I call myself Krys Ra, right? You call yourself Nathan. The only difference between me and you is our thoughts. So we create a narrative or a linear story. So we have the source, and the source says, I'm Krys, I'm so-and-so years old, I do this and that. That experience of those thoughts gives me a perception of movement that we call time. So time is not something that you look, oh, what time is it? You know, that's not it. It is your flow through the medium that we call the ether. This is when it gets really, you're gonna, think about this one for a little bit. In order to be a somebody, you must have a linear progression of thought. This is time. Cat, jumped, watch, hat, whale. Makes no sense, right? But you thought about every single word I said, and as you're thinking about it, you're moving from cat, jump, whale, da, da. So you've created what? A timeline. You see? Do you get what just happened there? Let's do it again. Horse, cow, spoon, cat, fish. Makes no sense. But you think about it and you create a boom, boom, a linear progression. That linear progression is what gives you the illusion of movement through the ether that you call time. It is the linear progression of thoughts along with the awareness of being Jordan and not Tammy, we just talked about that creates the flow and idea of self. In order for the source or the ether, pure potential to be an ego, so I don't interpret ego as a negative thing. I love ego because I am an ego. Because what is an ego? An ego is a differentiation in the source, right? That it's something other than the all. Okay? An ego is not a negative part of you that you need to overcome and kill. Like all that stuff like makes me cringe. It really does. I see a soul and an ego as one thing. It's the same thing. So in order for this, point of awareness, it must have a linear progression of patterns of thinking that give it the substance of being. We just talked about that. Example, I am John, I am 42, I have a cat named Hamster. Thought that was funny. Those thoughts create a flow, a picture, or progression that progress in time. That progression is time. Another example of how time actually works. So you're drawing a picture. I want to walk down there, but I don't think I can. Do I? It's all right. I don't want to chance all that. Yeah, it's all good. So I'll just create a duplicate, and you guys will feel my energy walking around. I'm not kidding. All right. So you're drawing a picture, and in this picture, you draw someone sitting under a tree. You say that person sitting under the tree is 42 years old, and they have a wife and two kids. One of their kids live in college, whatever, are at college, and the kid is 20 years old. You create this story. But wait, how can I create that story? Okay, where's those 42 years coming from? Doesn't matter, you created it. So from that perception of the character sitting under the tree, he's 42 years old. But from you, the creator, you know what's happening instantly, right? So you can see how impermanent time is. It's just the narratives and the stories we tell ourselves, right? This is why age means literally nothing. Age is a concept. I'm old is a concept. I'm young is a concept. It's an idea. I'm eternal is another concept and idea, but one that sounds a little bit better than I'm old, you know? And no offense to anyone who, you know, calls themselves old or any of that stuff. But my point is, you create this as you go along. It's literally a story you're making up. It's your imagination. You never lost your imagination. Most people have their imagination that's controlled by media and spiritual propaganda, right? Think about this, don't think about that. Oh my God, you know, 5D and all this stuff. And I'm not trying to talk bad about that kind of mode of thinking. I'm trying to give you a different perspective. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's no truth in those kinds of concepts, but they're also limiting because they create a reaching out to, right? They create a linear progression of like ladder that I have to climb. All the dimensions are here. They really are. Do you have the capacity to perceive them? That's the difference. Is your mind expanded enough to interpret the frequencies that are around you? Nothing is invisible. You just have not developed the software to perceive it. Some of you have. Some of you are seers and mystics and all those fun things. But, you know, time is your thoughts. It is you. How you observe and think about yourself and the world around you. Does that make sense? Are you guys picking that up? Yes, no, maybe so? Yes. Okay. Human perception of time. On Earth, humans agree to time being linear and run by a clock. How boring. It's so boring. I know we have to do it because, you know, but again, these are all perception agreements. A clock does not tell time. A clock is a number device used to keep an agreed upon perception of a people. A clock synchronizes the lens in which people look out of. That's all it does. It keeps us all focused on the same thing, so we all, you know, move in the same way. But it doesn't tell time, because even in that experience, okay, you have, you know, 20 minutes left, Krys. My version of that 20 minutes is going to feel different than yours. You're all going to experience that 20 minutes, some slower, some faster, right? Is that not true? So it's not about the number. It's about your mind and your thoughts and your perception. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so as time is the observational progression of one's thoughts and awareness of self. Their experience of reality reflects the belief structure. When a human leaves Earth, they are not bound by the collective structure or belief, so their perception of time is open to what really is all the time. So right now on planet Earth, there's a general consensus that time is held by a watch, and so that's what we all agree to. But if we were to leave this planet, that perceptional agreement isn't there anymore. We're all tuned into each other, whether we like it, know it, or believe it or not. It is the truth. Every single human is telepathic. Most people just don't accept it, and they think it's something they have to learn and practice. You don't. You just have to stop. You just have to stop stopping yourself, right? So if you go to China or Japan, you are leaving behind the perceptual agreements of America, right? You now have to adapt to a different set of structures of thoughts and beliefs, right? So that's all time is. It's a set of beliefs that we've come to say, hey, this is what it is. And I'm here to say that's not how time works at all. It's a movement or a flow of your thoughts and your own perception of those thoughts. A society does not become advanced when their linear years pass. They become advanced when they align to the energy constructs, thoughts and ideas and perceptions that supports higher awareness and expanded ways of being. So let's think about that for a second, how powerful and how simple that is. So all this talk about disclosure, all this talk about the ETs, all this talk about New Earth, as if it's not here, as if it's not happening, as if we have to wait for someone with a big name to say, hey, the ETs are here. No, you are the masters. It's the people that need to do the work to choose what reality they want to experience. All right? And so the goal here is that this whole advanced way of being is brought forth by the consciousness of the people. Again, the seed is in the fruit and the fruit is in the seed. I can only build a device that is at the same frequency of my own consciousness, of my own thoughts. I can't build something that I don't have the capacity to perceive. So what's fundamentally important here is your perception. And through that, you will develop the consciousness that allows you to acquire the right tools, social setting, financial stability, and people to bring forth the experience that you want. So there's no more waiting for 5D. There's no more waiting for the ETs. Trust me, we're here. And we've been here. And it's kind of like, when are you going to show up? Right? When are the humans going to show up for themselves and stop waiting on Big Brother in the sky or, some government official to tell you, hey, the Miami incident was like, who cares? It's all spiritual propaganda. It's all designed to keep you from realizing what I'm telling you today, which is you're the one with the power and the ability to shift anytime you want. It's all up to you, right? But that means you also have to let go of things that you've limited yourself by intentionally. So have fun. A lot of mirror talks. But you all can do it. I really believe that. So time is a construct that reflects groupthink or personal perception of one's own awareness. It is not set in stone, right? So again, time reflects groupthink. I'm trying to think of another good way to explain this. I mean, because that gets into like time travel. Again, just short note on that. Time travel is not, it's not about going back to the 1800s. The 1800s is a vibration in the ether. Every word that I say has a specific resonance. If you have the correct senses, you can pick up on that word, and there's numbers like The Matrix. The Matrix was a documentary. So in this room, there's a specific base frequency that all of us together are creating a specific tone in the ether. If you have the correct instrumentation, you'd be able to measure that frequency and duplicate it, travel to it, do other things with it. This is advanced interstellar information, right? So time works the same way. The 1920s, it's not about the number, it's about the frequency it's about the frequency in the field, and if you can read that or not. So time travel becomes no different than 100 years to 1 day. It's all the same concept. What's the frequency? Let me plug it into the computer and off we go, right? And that's I could give a whole talk just on that topic alone, but I just wanted to give you guys a little snippet of that. So before I do this slide, just wanted to let you guys know that, me standing here in front of you, this is not like I did it the hard way. And what I mean by that is I didn't take any shortcuts. There was no one that handed me anything, right? Most ether physics, I might be the first person in the world to use those two words together. And so I am a self-made realization of myself. And I say that not to brag, but I say that because you all are that as well. You all have this potential, this power, this ability to take your life and flip it upside down within, who knows, whenever you want to do it. Dedication, consistency is all it takes, dropping old belief patterns. So I just wanted to let you know that I had a very tough life. I'm actually, a walk-in soul, which, do you guys know what walk-ins are? Do you really? Are you sure you know, or is that what you've been told? No. Yeah, exactly. No. So as a walk-in soul, I am transmitting my consciousness not from this realm, but from a starship. I'm not saying that to be funny or like woo-woo. I'm saying that because I understand how these things work. These are real technologies. I have another physical form that's in like an immersion pod that would be transmitting my signal, because a soul is just a signal. A soul is not something that you can grab. You can't grab a soul no different than you can grab a shadow. A soul is a set of concepts and ideas which create a signal or frequency that you can just move around. So that's why I said earlier, I can just project myself and you guys would feel it walk around the room, because I understand how that works. So a walk-in soul is, I had a different consciousness whenever I was young. there was a specific moment in my life where I was like, I became way smarter. I understood things. And I was like, what is going on? And I figured out along the way that there's this thing called walk-ins. And yeah, so I feel like that was important to share because I feel like some of you might pick up on that a little bit. But the point of being a walk-in is that it's a higher or more advanced version of me. It's the same soul, but with a higher signal, right? So I just wanted to share that. Ether physics of materialization. So manifesting and materialization are misnomers. What we are talking about is the actualization process of the ether from pure potential to solid object. Okay? So first we must realize that there is no matter. That's the first thing. There's no physical world. There's no physical world here, no astral world over there, and there's no separation like that. We like to think of, well, this is the physical, this is the astral, and here's the spiritual. My split brain thinking again. It's not. It's all here, and you can only experience the rate of vibration that you yourself are at. So the astral is around us and within us all the time. This is the astral. It is. And that's another concept that you don't really hear talked about. I'm going to astral project. Where are you going to project to? You don't go anywhere. You just slide the image on the camera. It's like when you watch a movie and the projector is projecting on the screen, you see everything playing out on the screen. They could be in a mountain, then in a river, then at a birthday party. But it's all coming from where? The projector, which is stationary. So that's all we do is we shift our vibration, which gives us different experiences. This is the unity or the unification of consciousness. This is true ether physics. Okay. Just like there's no 5 elements. I don't like when people say, I know it's a wonderful concept and it's served its purpose, but I do not subscribe to, well, you have fire, you have water, you have earth, you have air, and then you have ether. No. Fire and water are the same thing, different scale, different part of the same scale. And whenever you take those seemingly different substances, you get earth, right? Which is, again, just another part of the scale. So I don't like separating parts in order to understand them. I like seeing how they all work together. Okay, our modern science, at least the mainstream science we're given, because you have 2 sciences on Earth. You have mainstream, which all of you mostly have been taught. Then you have what the secret agencies are using. Or you have people like myself who figured it out just from observing and being aware and just asking questions, right? But modern science has not yet figured out how to measure the high oscillation of the medium we call ether. So a lot of scientists will say the ether does not exist. It's actually taken out of a lot of textbooks and it's not really talked about. It was something that was brought up and it was considered woo-woo. But I just want you to know that the things I'm bringing to you, if you're going to look for a verification, you're probably not going to find it. Because you have to understand we are in a frequency zone where the whole name of the game is to keep people asleep. So don't give them the truth. Give them enough that they feel good. But don't give them enough that they can be free. 2 totally different things, right? Empty their brains and fill their bellies, right? Exactly. So again, if you're looking for verification of what I'm saying, it's out there, but it's not something that's it's definitely not mainstream. Scientists are not going to talk to you. I'd be considered crazy, which whatever. Matter is only a repeating pulse rhythm in the ether. Matter is a node or a standing wave of frequency harmonics. Harmonics are the bass pulses that create ripples or waves or crests in the ether. I'll explain all this. If constant enough, these nodes begin to form a standing wave or repeating pattern in the medium. All right, let's break this down. Anyone else want to break it down? Yeah, go ahead. Seriously, anyone else want to take what do you think this paragraph is saying? No? Okay. So I'll do it. So you have, again, going back to the gravity concept, you have the ether, the pure potential, the all. Let's say the ocean, right? What happens in the ocean whenever you start to go like this with your legs or go like this? What does that do? Creates waves and ripples. And if you do it faster and harder, what happens then? Right? More and more and more and more. If you do it long enough, then if the force is enough, it'll create like a vortex or a tornado, right? Or a tsunami. Okay? So it's the same thing with our consciousness, and same thing with matter. Everything that you're seeing that you think is physical is just a repeating pattern in the ether. That's all it is. It's given the same harmonics. What is a harmonic? It's the specific frequency or rate of pulse, rate of movement or vibration. Okay, let's do this. If I do this, creating movement in the ether, right? And if I do this, then with this, and now these two come together, and then if someone else will bring their hands and do this, it would create one stream of energy, right? I talk about, I don't know if it's this slide, in the next slide, it's like whenever you have a rope, each strand of that rope by itself is a harmonic, an initial thought or feeling. The more that same initial thought or feeling is focused on, it comes together to form a rope. The rope is akin to the frequency. Are you with me? Yes? Okay. So matter is a bunch of ropes, energetic ropes, strung together, repeated over and over and over and over. So nothing is solid. It's just that it's gotten so much attention from the source or the ether that it appears to be solid based on our perception. Okay, so we're going to switch gears to dimensions and density. Dimensions in and of themselves do not exist. They are made up, right? So again, I don't subscribe to ascension into 5D. These are made up concepts. Again, because you can't point to them. It's an idea, right? There is only one fluid-like ethereal substance. What differentiates one point from the ether from another is, again, the specific rhythms or frequencies of vibration. Okay, so the ocean, there's one wave over here, but then you have a smaller wave that's going like this, right? Observing these two things, you would think they're different because they look different. One's really big and one's really small, but they're both taking place in the medium called the ether or the source. All right? Thank you. So that's what dimensions are. Again, you have access to all the dimensions and densities because those, again, are just concepts in your mind. It's really about your thoughts. What you think is possible, what you think is not possible. You'll experience whatever you want. It's that simple. These unique patterns of ether flow generate a standing wave. The standing wave can be a solid object or a completely different event or experience of events, i.e. dimension. There are no dimensions, but rather frequency variations within the medium that offer a set of experiences to the consciousness generating the thoughts. Everyone is their own dimension, everyone is their own density. So my dimension is very specific to how I think and how I experience life. Yours is specific to you. Yours is you, yours is you, yours is you. That's how it goes. We are all our own dimension. And within that dimension, we can experience different things called densities. But it's not like there's somewhere to go. Again, the seed is in the fruit is in the seed. You are going to experience the base pulse rhythm, thoughts, feelings that you are focusing on. And then you will generate your life from that point. That's as simple as I can make it. You are the starting point and also the ending in the middle. What you focus on is what you're going to materialize and bring forth through ether physics that we all just got done learning about. Frequency. When speaking on the ether, we must understand the effect that frequency has in the medium. A frequency is made up of harmonics, which are nodes or standing waves in the ether. These nodes create a frequency. We talked about the rope. A point of awareness or a soul generates and animates the ether, which is truly itself. So you are the ether. Thank you. You are the ether. You are the source. So that's your station of identity must shift from I'm a human being with a certain name to that. Nameless, right? Timeless presence. And it's from that space in which you start to think and you start to process, and it gets it's way more fun than just limiting yourself. Now, I'm not saying to deny your physical form or anything like that. I'm saying to expand your consciousness to include more of what you are, right? Okay, I'm Krys, but I'm also a starseed from different places, consciously. I'm an immersion pod. I'm also on, Jupiterian, right? I'm also a father. I'm also whatever I need to be. But I can include these things as part of my being. So it's like if you have 5 fingers, most people only know themselves as the pinky. That's it. And what I'm saying is to expand your mind to include all of this. You don't deny the pinky. You just now expand your awareness into more aspects of yourself. Yeah. That's it for now. Yep. Thank you.